understanding a little bit about how much you know about Canva. And so I was wondering if you could share with me your confidence on Canva by sharing in the chat a number from 0 to 10, 0 being you've never heard of Canva, never set foot in it, and 10 being you're a complete expert and we could hire you tomorrow. Okay. Oh, quite a lot of different numbers across the board. I love this. Oh, we've got a 9.5. I'll be reaching out to you then. Amazing. And some newer people to Canva, which we absolutely love. Cool. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and hopefully share the right one. And you should be able to see my presentation. Cool. Thanks, AJ. So as I said, super excited to be here with you today. I'm not going to bore you with the details of my role, but I will share the story that I shared this morning, which is when I was asked to take on this role that I'm currently in today at Canva. It was described to me as the Swiss Army knife role for the international expansion team of Canva. I was like, okay, this sounds like exactly a bit of me. But all that to say that I know what it's like to wear different hats, to adapt to different situations, and constantly be looking to develop your skills and that toolkit. And so really that is what this session is all about today, is showing you some of the tools within Canva, and specifically AI tools that you can add to your toolkit in order to, one, work smarter, to create content faster, whatever that content may be. And 3, which is super important in any role, is having some tools to wow people. So regardless of who that is, whether that's a customer, whether that's a potential employer or investors, whoever that is, show you some tools to wow people through your visual content. And then, as Millie said, we'll have lots of time for questions if you have any for me. We had super good questions this morning, so please don't be shy. Ask away. Even if they're super difficult, I'll do my best to answer or to point you in the right direction. So in order to show you these different features that I've mentioned, I'll actually be jumping into Canva and showing you a demo. What I would say, especially for those people who are more of a 0 to 5 confidence within Canva, sometimes it can feel like I'm going quite quickly and jumping into different things, and you can be like, oh, how did you get there? What button did you press? What I would recommend you do is step aside from trying to understand what buttons I'm pressing and focusing more on what exactly is possible and imagining how you can bring this in your day-to-day. And then remembering is the most important part in terms of what buttons to press. There's plenty of resources that I will share with you so that you can find, exactly how to reproduce the kind of stuff that I was doing. Okay, hope that works for all of you. So now let's jump into the platform itself. So for those who don't know, Canva is essentially a design platform with the mission to empower everyone to design any type of content. So here you can see our visual work suite, all the different types of content that you can create, from a sheet that I'll be jumping into, to presentations, to social media posts, to video content if you wish to, but also things like websites for a portfolio page, or if you want to do an interactive CV, whatever that may look like, you've got that available to you as well. And what we've done to make it easier, but also faster to create good looking content and content that performs, is we've sprinkled what we call magic in Canva. Magic stands for AI, just FYI, when I'm talking about magic, it's just AI, but we like to keep it poetic. And so today, although I can't show you all the magic that we've got within Canva, I'd just like to focus on a couple of things that I think could be super useful for you as generalists. And so to do so, I'm going to jump into a couple of different use cases. One thing I would say is don't get too stuck on my use case. I'm just using it to bring it to life and hopefully to help you remember what's possible, but really think about how this could apply to your own day-to-day. So the first hat that I'm putting on and kind of use case I'm talking about is imagine if I was wearing my consultant hat and I was jumping in a whiteboard with my customer to help them figure out what their strategy was going to be for the next 6 months. I personally love whiteboards to leave plenty of space and freedom for people to start ideating, thinking freely without too many kind of limitations. So imagine that I was with this customer and they started popping down lots of different ideas. And we get to that point in the whiteboard where we're like, okay, great, everyone's popped their ideas. Let's have a look at each individual one. We could do that. It does take a bit of time and can be a bit repetitive. So there's a tool that we introduce within Canva, which enables you to sort your post-its. So what I would do here in this type of workshop is actually select all of my post-its. You'll see a bar up top that comes here, and this is in every single type of content within Canva. If you select anything, you have this bar that helps you edit it essentially. And here what we see is these little stars, and that indicates there's some Canva magic in the air. So I'm going to press this, and what you can see is I can sort these by topic. What this does is the AI reads all the post-it notes and then organizes them by themes. And so what we can see, if I zoom in a little bit, is it's organized it into different topics. So marketing projects, what the goals are, what our target audiences are, business values, etc. And this makes it a lot easier to organize the kind of sessions that you may be running. So that's one of the ones that I want to share with you. But now we've had this super productive session together with our customer. The question is, how do we make this a bit more of a digestible content so that if they want to share it with everyone or with anyone internally, people don't have to kind of scroll through and trying to figure out what the context is and what exactly this is all about. So here what I'm going to show you is how we can transform this whiteboard into a document. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to jump up top left here to resize. For those who know Canva well, you'll probably know that you can actually resize any type of content into a different format. So for example, let's say I was doing a presentation, I could easily resize this into a LinkedIn post, for example, or into a website format, whatever that may be. But here I'm actually scrolling down to the bottom and going to our magic section called Magic Switch. So good to know that you can translate also, you can switch any content that you have in all the different languages that we support within the platform, which is most of them. But this is the one I want to show you right now, which is transforming into a doc. So here I'm going to ask the AI to transform this whiteboard into an executive summary, a concise executive summary. And what it's going to do is essentially capture all of the information that we've got in the whiteboard and organize it into a concise document that I can easily share with my customer and that they can easily share internally. And if I jump into that, what you'll see is that it's done a nice job of doing this concise executive summary. And then, of course, I would go about changing like the banner, so it's a bit more in my brand, and then go into the different elements that it's highlighted, make sure I'm happy with it, and modify any pieces that I'd like to modify. But you can imagine how this is a time gain. Also, you can, of course, do this all manually, but it's also good to know that we've got another AI tool that you can use within here, which is called Magic Write. So here, if I select any piece of text, you'll see this little edit bar come up. And this pencil with a few stars is Magic Write. Magic Write is our text generator within Canva. And it essentially enables you, one, to generate text from scratch if you wish to do so, or two, to transform the existing text that you've got. So here, for example, I think this is a bit too concise potentially, especially this overview. So I'm going to say, could you make this overview a bit more detailed? And what it's going to do is analyze this, but also analyze the rest of the document to make the overview a bit more complete. And then I can either accept what it generates for me or give it multiple prompts so I really get it to where I want it to be. And then I simply replace the text, and I've made some changes here. And one thing to note, I'm showing you Magic Write within a doc specifically, but Magic Write is available in all the different types of content within Canva. So let's say you're working on a social media post, for example, you could generate the copy directly within Magic Write if you'd like to. Cool. So that was my consultant hat. I'm going to take that off and now put on my content creation hat. So within this example, I'm jumping into a sheet and I am actually running a series of meetups this summer in popular European cities that you can see here. So I've decided actually to do this in 15 different cities, but now I actually need to promote it. So what I'm going to showcase to you here is actually through Sheets how you can essentially bulk create at scale. So what I've decided to do for each of these posts is I created an original template. This took me about 5 to 10 minutes. And I've got my logo, I've got my campaign name. I've decided to highlight a nice, beautiful image of the city that I'm referring to, a cool tagline which mixes, you know, the innovation meetups that we're doing mixed with whatever the city has to bring, and then a specific reference to the city itself and my call to action. And so what I actually want to do is, rather than having to create this manually 15 times, I want to go a bit quicker. And this is where I use Sheets. So Canva Sheets is essentially like any spreadsheet, but what's great about it is that you can use it, as I said before, to scale your content creation. So here you can see I've got all the cities I want to do this post for. I've selected some images directly from my elements sidebar here and just dragged in some nice pictures that I liked for each city. And I started writing the taglines, but I got a bit distracted by something else I was working on. And I actually don't have too much inspiration. So what I'm going to do is, rather than do it all manually, I'm going to select all of the empty cells and I'm going to jump up to my edit bar here and press on again the magic with the stars, actions. And here what I'm going to look for is fill empty cells. What this functionality is going to do is going to look at your whole spreadsheet and understand what column it's supposed to fill and what it's supposed to fill it with based on what's around it. And here it's completely understood. We need a cool tagline. It's understood the kind of length and that it refers back to each of the cities here. Cool. So in a couple of seconds, bam, I've done all of those taglines. Now the next bit is actually putting the design all together. So here what I'm going to do is select all of the columns that I need to create the actual design. And I'm going to jump back into actions. And here I'm going to press on bulk create. Bulk create is what's going to help me create all of these. And I just need to tag it back to that original content that I built. And here, what it's looking to do, and this is a little bit technical, so please don't worry if you don't remember this, but I'm just going to make sure that all the elements of the design are tagged to the right columns. So here, for example, the city, I'm just making sure that it's tied up to the meetup city column. And the one in the back here, I just want it to be a nice reflection of this image here. So I'm going to link it to the location image. All that's done. And now I'm just going to click on create 15 designs. And as you'll see, in a couple of seconds, we've generated all of the designs for my 15 cities. You can see them all here. And if I jump into one of them, for example, Valencia, Spain, you can see the image, you can see the background image, the tagline, and then the city itself. So you can just imagine how much time this can save you if you're looking to create content. And as I was saying at the beginning, don't be restricted by my example. Think of any ways that you may need to create kind of personalized content, whether that's presentations or, you know, if you're looking to do more LinkedIn posts and you want to do visuals, lots of different ways that you can kind of scale this. The next bit is staying on Sheets still, but it's pretty cool. A big part about content creation is obviously the results that you track. And so if you deal with a lot of data and you're quite keen on like analyzing that data, but you don't always have time to actually put it into proper spreadsheets and put all the formulas in, this one's definitely for you. So if you bring in any data into Canva Sheets, and then you go into Actions and Magic Insights here, what you can do is ask it a specific question in plain English. So example here, which city performed the best in my campaign? It will analyze all of the data in the sheet for you and not only give you answers. So here it's telling me that Barcelona was the one with the highest engagement rate, but also it will generate some cool looking charts for you to leverage in presentations or in your sheets directly to kind of highlight how everything is going. So that's a really cool tool that I encourage you to play with, especially if you need to bring data to life, let's say. So that was with our content creation hat. And I did promise you a bit of wow. So hopefully there's been a bit of wow already, but there's two other things that I really want to show you when it comes to using Canva to create a bit more wow. If we jump into back to our home page here, you'll see that you've got this search bar, and this you can use to search within your design, search within all the templates that are available on Canva. But there's also this new or relatively new feature here, which is Canva AI. And Canva AI is essentially what is going to help you generate anything from scratch. So you could be designing specific content from scratch. So let's say you wanted to build a specific presentation, you would just pop in a prompt here and ask it to design it for you, and you can then go into the Canva editor and edit it as you please. Similarly, with an image, you can generate images with Canva AI, draft docs, but these are my two favorites. This is the possibility to create a video clip. For now, I think you can only generate it for 8 seconds, but you can kind of see some of the cool results, like cinematic results that you can produce within Canva directly and then pull into your designs. But then my personal favorite is Canva Code. Canva Code is going to enable you to create different types of widgets. So here you've got a couple of examples to understand, but essentially, again, you just put what you want into plain English, you explain how you want it to work, and it will generate it for you. A couple of examples that I've used it for is, do you remember at the beginning I asked you how confident you were on Canva? Instead of asking you in Zoom, I could have easily asked you in Canva directly, and then you could have clicked on all of these different numbers that were relevant to you, if it's actually going to work for me. But here what it does is essentially it starts kind of the bar starts rising. I don't know why it's not working. Let me just refresh it. There we go. So you could have been clicking on all these different ones, and it just really brings something to life visually. The other way that I've used it actually internally is building an ROI calculator. So this is just an example that I built for the purpose of this session, but you'll see here, I put quite a detailed description of what I wanted. And here I have an interactive widget that people can use to understand how much value they would get out of Canva. So here they could pop in, how many hours they typically spend creating content, what their hourly rate is, and then say how much time Canva would save them, play with the different content they build, the currency to really understand, and it automatically generates the return on investment, gives you a nice kind of interactive widget to play with. And all of the widgets that you create with Canva with Canva Code, sorry, you can bring them into any sorts of design. So you saw I had this one in a whiteboard, but you could also bring it into a presentation or website, whatever it is that you want to use it for. And then just before I move on to questions, because there were a couple of questions around this morning, so we thought it would be great to show you. For you generalists, I understand that sometimes building websites either for dynamic CVs or portfolios, etc., is a great way to kind of bring some bits to life. So just know that you've got this functionality within Canva to build your own website. You can obviously build multiple pages. You can have a look at all the different templates that there are that you want to specifically kind of use as a basis to build. And then all you need to do, if I've lost my website, is then you can just publish it either on your own domain or on a public kind of Canva domain. And I think I've covered a lot here. I'm going to open up the floor to any questions you may have.
This chat, I mean, we don't have favorites, right? We don't have favorites, but the chat that's happening is one of my favorites from yes, Kayla. Kayla needs a moment. I think we all do. Amazing. The magic be real. We do have some questions, Meg. So folks, I'm going to ask your questions, and if there's anything we haven't covered, you can also pop your hand up and feel free to come off stage. Otherwise, I can see them flowing in the chat, so I'm sure we'll have no shortage.
Yes.
Okay, from the top. Do you need to populate the sheet, or is there a way that you can utilize AI to build this?
Okay, so going into the sheet, you can use Magic Write to populate any text. So for example, here I could go into actions and use Magic Write directly and ask it a prompt to fill out the different elements. You can also plug in Canva Sheets into any other spreadsheets that you've been using. There are some parts which will have to be manual, but to be honest, there's a lot that you can do with AI directly.
Okay, we're going to stick with the sheets for a little bit.
Yeah.
Can you use data from a database instead of the sheet?
Yeah, you can. So you can plug in you can plug in data from different places, whether that's an Excel spreadsheet, whether that's Google Sheets, or whether it's a database. What I would recommend you to check out is within apps, we've got lots of integration with different types of databases. You can look to see if there's an integration there and then directly plug in. If not, it would just be importing a CSV or something that's slightly more manual.
Makes sense. What if you wanted to automatically change the tint color? This was asked around when you had the sheets. Can you change the color of the tint automatically? I guess this is if you're doing it in bulk.
Yeah. For example, rather than the red having a different color, I assume that's what the question is.
Yeah.
Let me think about that. That is a good question. And the answer is, I think you could. Basically, so the tint behind is just a background here with the color here. So all you would need to do is have an additional column in your sheets. I can't find my sheets. But you would have an additional column with your sheets, which is that background, and then you could easily change that as well. Yeah.
Ideal. Oh gosh, I'm trying to group them, but it's a little bit tricky. So, um, more around data and analytics. So, I'm curious how you would pull in data from Google Analytics and Hootsuite, for example, into Canva to create quarterly marketing metrics reports.
Yeah, that's a good one. So we do have integrations with people like Hootsuite. The thing is, it's more of an exporting type of situation right now. So content that could be exported into Hootsuite. I don't think, except if I'm mistaken, that you can tie it back the other way round. But all that you would do in that case is export it from Hootsuite and then plug it back into here. So a little bit manual. I would imagine those types of kind of connections, integrations would come pretty soon as we've developed this, but this is quite a new functionality.
Makes sense. On integrations, where is the best place to learn about them? Is there lessons on integrations?
Yeah, that's a good one. There's a whole page on integrations. I can send it to you. I can send it to you within the resources. Um, it's a bit tough, to be honest. There are so many. There's, we have an open API, so people can just develop their own things and plug it into Canva. So it can be quite hard to keep track of what's available within Canva. What I would say is similarly to the other ways that you keep in touch with how Canva is evolving is we've got the help center. One thing that I didn't show on this call is that you've also got here at the bottom of any design, you've got this little question mark, and this is our chatbot. So you can ask questions there, thinking like, oh, is there a specific integration to do this or that? But if you're looking to more generally educate yourself, I would say our YouTube channels is a good place to go. We have also workshops that are led by our teams that you can go to as well. They're typically online. And then the last thing that I would also say is finding some good influencers which fit with your kind of use case, whether that's on TikTok, Instagram, or other channels, that will give you the right tips on the things that you want to know. That's probably the best.
Beautiful. Canva as an e-learning authoring tool, can it accomplish similar tasks to something like Adobe Captivate?
Um, so I've got a background in enablement, so I've tried it as an e-learning tool. It depends how you want to do it. I would say today it's not the best tool. The reason being that you can't really you can't really make it interactive. There may be some integrations helping to do that, but right now, to be completely honest, I would say it's probably not the greatest use case.
Love it. Great honesty. Okay, I'm going to merge these two questions about domain. The first is, how do you publish to your own domain? And the second is there a charge for using the Canva public domain?
So for the public domain, no. And for adding your own domain, if you go to publish website, let me see if I can actually show you. Yeah, so you could go into get a new domain and then you would connect your own domain, or you can actually buy a domain from Canva directly, or just select a public Canva domain, which is free.
Awesome. And on this thread, once you create a website in Canva, could you then publish it to WordPress?
No, I don't think so, because no, I don't think you could, but I'm open to being challenged. I was challenged this morning, so if anyone knows otherwise, please share. But I don't think that you could, because you would directly be editing it on Canva directly.
That makes sense. Um, I'm not sure I understand this, but maybe you'll pick it up. How would you share the voting if you wanted us to participate instead of posting here in the chat?
Yeah. So the way that I would do it is I would just go into my whiteboard here, and I would say anyone with the link can edit it, copy the link, pop it in the Slack, and you could all jump onto it.
Sweet. Um, let's sort dashboards. It looks like it's possible to build a dashboard through Canva. If you could build a dashboard, why would you want to build one in Canva versus like other platforms?
Mm, so what I would say is you can build dashboards in Canva, like I showed you with the different charts. I think the added value of Canva is not really building the dashboards. It's more about bringing data to life visually and having everything in one place. So for example, the campaign use case that I was using, it's so much easier to have everything within Canva, the campaign, its results, and then being able to bring in that kind of visual representation of the data that you can pop into presentations and then share versus like jumping between tools. I would say that's where the added value is.
Mm. Are there limits to the use of the Magic AI, or does it depend on the plan or subscription?
Yeah, great question. So if I, for example, go back to the campaign here, so you'll see within actions, you've got some tools that are available to everyone. So for example, fill empty cells, you can all use that. And then there's some others, for example, like bulk create, or you can resize designs in bulk as well, or translate in bulk. Some of these require pro. So anything with the little crown means it's a pro specific feature.
Awesome. And does Canva Magic support more complex visualizations like heat maps?
Oh, so that's a great question. I love it. If you go into Elements, so I'm just going to add a presentation slide. If you go into Elements, so here's where you can find all types of different content, like it's a content library that's free of rights. And there's one which is called Charts, which shows you all the different types of charts that we have. I don't think we have a heat map, but you can see we've got slightly more complex ones, like scatter ones, these ones that I love as well. And here's some other charts. So we're starting to develop those. We also, I don't know if you know this, but we acquired a company a couple of years ago called Flourish, which is specialized into data visualization. So they're kind of feeding into having it native on Canva, but there's also integrations with them that you can use. And theirs is like incredible.
Mm. Okay, I'm going to save that question for the last one. That's a great one to finish on. So let me come down to more things around privacy and like corporate use. The first one being around privacy. So what LLM is Canva Magic powered by? And does Canva or that LLM train on the data that we use on our designs?
Yeah, great question. So we use different sources for the magic in Canva. Some of it is proprietary, so we develop it ourselves. Other, we work with people like OpenAI, we work with Anthropic as well. So that it really depends on what tool you would be looking at. And then for any questions to do with privacy and data training, or things like that, it basically depends on a lot of who we're working with. So I have this, and I think I've shared the link also. But there's this Canva Trust page, which really explains to you how your data is processed, what we do specifically with AI. So I recommend just either having a look through that or jumping into the that little chatbot that I showed you before.
Awesome. So from a corporate level, how does Canva allow companies to own their own data and make it possible to remove users without losing their work, which is corporate IP?
Yeah. So we've got a whole section within Canva, which is sorry, it's kind of blocking. I've got something blocking my screen, but at the bottom, we've got a part which is dedicated to uh, settings. And so we work with a lot of big enterprises. That's actually where I started my journey within Canva, working on the corporate B2B side. And you've got plenty of kind of settings that you can use to sort that out. And so you can have it set so that if someone leaves the team, firstly, you can use things like Skim, SSO, so that as soon as the person leaves the company, they automatically lose access to Canva with that email. And then all their content is transferred to someone else. So we've got multiple things in place to accommodate corporates.
Hmm. Another question around security. Could you talk about security for assets that are publicly shared? Is there HIPAA compliance, for example?
I don't know what HIPAA compliance is. What I do know is that what anything that you use, any other of the elements that you use within Canva are free of rights so that you can use them. When it comes to generating via AI, again, you're protected by Canva, but more details are in that Canva Trust page that I shared if you have anything specific.
Fantastic. And from the sustainability perspective, how is Canva powering its AI how is Canva powering its AI tools since AI is so resource intensive?
Hmm. And we had a similar question this morning, and I must say I don't have the answer to that. I don't know, so I don't want to say anything silly or wrong. Um, yeah, I can't really comment on that because I don't know the answer.
No
I
worries.
love the question.
Yeah. Um, okay, I love this question. What type of one-stop shop does Canva aim to be? I see so much in here.
Yeah, that is such a good question. I think it comes back to what I was saying before, which is how can we make it as easy as possible for you to create content without jumping from one platform to the next? So that's what we're looking to do is giving you everything that you can possibly have when it comes to visual communication within one platform so that you go quicker, transitions are easier, and you can do a lot of everything in one platform. That's really what we're looking to do.
I hope that helps. We're coming to the end of the questions that I've got populated here. I've got another one or two, but if anyone has extras, feel free to pop your hand up now so that we can come to you. One of the questions, a quick one, how do you share with external people? So basically, how do you share? I think embeds specifically.
So there's a couple of bits. So here, sorry, my screen's a bit funny. So if you go up top here, you've got your share button. So this is where you can specifically share, this specific design with anyone, like I was showing you before. But if you're looking to embed specifically, you can go into see all, and then you have an embed link. Sorry, this is a demo, so I don't actually have it for this account. But you could then just copy the code here.
Awesome. And I can see Luciana has asked a question, but also has her hand up. So Edja, maybe we could unmute. Come on up, Luciana.
Wait, I'm trying to find her.
Oh, maybe the hand up was an accident.
Maybe.
Oh, it won't let me unmute. Just a moment.
Yes.
Technicality.
Hi, sorry. No, it was just the question that I posted. I didn't know if I had to also raise my hand.
Oh, no worries. It's cool. So that question was, oh, okay. So, well, you can ask it if you like, Luciana. You've got the stage, you've got the mic.
Yeah, I was just in the background trying to do it basically, and I couldn't figure it out. So I thought, let me ask. Yeah, so I've created a flowchart on Whimsical. Is there a way to export it into Canva because that looks so much better?
Sorry, you were using what?
Whimsical.
Yeah, so as long as you can export it, you can pop it into Canva. So
It only lets me export a PNG though of the whole board.
within Canva?
No, as in the original platform, I can export a PNG version of the entire whiteboard. It doesn't let me break down the elements. So once I import it into Canva, it's just a picture.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, I'm not very familiar with the tool myself, but if you can only export it as a PNG, then there's not much that you'd be able to do to kind of break it back down in Canva. So what were you hoping to do with it in Canva?
I just like the features better. I thought Whimsical was gonna work for me, but it was really complicated, and this looks much easier. And then the fact that you can also create text and a reports or like summarize the whole board afterwards, that was just amazing.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of this because we were talking about this morning. The way that we use whiteboards is more kind of ideation versus like bringing in data. Um, so I'm not sure there's like a super easy way of doing it if you can only export it as a PNG.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Of course.
Jody asked a great question, and that is, does Canva have, starting from scratch, brand development tools that will help you build a color palette, choose fonts, and then scale it to website, etc.?
Okay. So the answer is partly yes. One of the tools that we use a lot within Canva, and a lot of the corporate customers and SMBs use, is Canva Brand Kit. So here it's essentially a brand kit with all the core elements of your brand. So think logos, colors, the fonts that you use, any kind of core assets to your brand. And what's great is that when you're working on any design, you can just jump into these and like drag and drop your designs in, pop your logos in, etc. So automatically kind of create content that's going to be on brand. What I would say it's less, where will help you less is actually, like drawing up your logos and things like that, like thinking of your colors, etc. But to actually store them, you've got the brand kits. Does that answer your question?
I think so. Amber asked a good one, which I would have to jog my memory. She said, "What questions did you all ask this morning that we haven't asked?"
Hmm.
Oh, I've got them written down.
We all do.
Yeah. They're not dissimilar, to be honest. There were some quite specific ones around like sheets, for example. Um, was there anything that you guys would love?
I mean, surprisingly, no one asked about the pro accounts or the limitations or the pricing at this session, but that was like a popular question in the morning. So maybe this can be something that we can touch on.
Yeah, so basically it's kind of a lot of the features will be available on the free plan, but as I was just kind of showing before, anything with this little crown would be a more of a pro account.
Mm. Fantastic. Last chance to get your questions in. Can you transform an existing presentation using Magic?
Into something different, I assume. And if so, yes. So for example, let me pretend that this is a presentation that I've got, right? I've got a pitch deck, and then I decide to transform it into something different. I would go into resize here, and I can either transform it into a different format. So I've had people transform these into videos, for example. So transform a pitch deck into a product video kind of thing. Or you can actually, like we did with the whiteboard, transform it into a doc and say, okay, from this, give me like a quick summary or give me an outline or something else. So hopefully that answers your question.
I think we're good. Does the Magic have a memory? For example, if I want to bulk create post about a range of products, this is interesting. Can it refer for copy, especially to an existing database with information about those products to pull info about like features and benefits?
I love that question. And the answer is that is the future. It's not possible yet. I would love that. But I could imagine it going that way, hopefully.
Any other questions? These questions are fantastic. This has been, Meg, you're going to need to lie down after this. This has been a pretty rapid.
Yeah, I'm going to need to revise my Canva.
For the brand kit, could you export a package to send externally?
So the way that there's not an easy, sorry, there's not a like button that you can press saying export this in a little way. But what I would do is search, for example, a brand kit template, see what I come up with, and then just use my brand kit to quickly fill these bits up. That's the way that I would go about it.
That makes sense. So many cool little tricks and tips. I have just shared in the chat a link that everyone can, if you want to, come hang out. That's where we're all going to be hanging out after this call. Meg will be there probably later or tomorrow. And so if you do have any questions, any that pop up overnight, feel free to come and chat. But I think if there's nothing else, we can wrap up and get our dinner ready. Meg, thank you so much. This has been absolutely delightful. And once again, I mean, I just watched this twice, and the second time I was also like, what? This is wild. Thank you everyone for taking the time to come. And I really hope you saw the magic, and feel free to post, tag us. We're here to amplify. And yes, I think definitely connect with Meg on LinkedIn.
Please do.
Have a great day. Have a great evening. Have a great morning, wherever
Thank
you
you
are.
all.
Thanks for
See
being a
you
wonderful
later.
crowd.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.